Hi friends. I am driving home from work, and I know that y'all have kind of wanted a life update video for a while, and honestly I've been very busy living life, but also, I know that what y'all most want me to address, trigger warning, weight, is that my size has changed. And I was trying to think about like how I want to talk about it in a way that is healthy for me, it's healthy for others, fits how I view things. And so I knew I would when I was ready, and today I feel ready, so we'll talk about it. And I also want to give you some like life updates on other things too, because it's been a while since I've sat down and chatted with you, and hopefully the background noises of the road and my air conditioner are not too much. I don't know why today I want to do this, because I have had like throat issues. Like I've never in my life had a lymph node like be really swollen, but my tonsils and my lymph nodes are swollen, and I had to go to urgent care last night. I mean, I could have made a doctor appointment, but they weren't any available until 9, and I was in so much pain. I'm glad I went, because they gave me a steroid and it's starting to work, so I'm glad I had it in my system earlier than I would have otherwise. But they said my body's just really like reacting to whatever kind of, could be a virus, could be bacteria infection I have going on, which is not fun. Apparently I'm into just, letting myself suffer in pain, and I just want to talk even though my throat's kind of messed up right now. So let's do some quick updates that aren't as heavy. I will say this video will address weight loss at some point, so this might not be the video for you. I will give a warning before I get to that topic again in any kind of way. But the first thing I want to talk about is my living situation, because I believe I shared that I was going to be moving. I definitely shared on Instagram, if not on YouTube. And I've been living in this apartment complex for a while now. I'm now on my 3rd unit in the same complex. And when I first moved in, I got a 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor was not fun, quite honestly, in terms of like bringing all this stuff up, and oh my goodness, if you forget your phone, you're like, but eventually I wanted to move to a 2-bedroom unit, and I moved to the 2nd floor. And the unit was okay, but I've always had this upstairs neighbor who bothered me and bothered other people in that same building, but just very one of these people that's kind of like inconsiderate the fact that they have neighbors. Fights a lot, yells a lot, goes out on their porch and yells at people on the phone a lot, wears high heels around their apartment back and forth, does a vacuum at like midnight, just who cares if you're below her, she's doing whatever. And anyways, we had an incident in December where she was fighting for an extended period of time, and things were slamming against the floor so hard that it scared me. I alerted people on it, and she was upset that I alerted people on it, and she started harassing me. And now, like, hindsight 2020, I wish I had put more pressure on my apartment complex to deal with it earlier on, because at least on her end, she said they never told her there's been noise issues. And they really kind of put it on me, the onus on me to address the issue, and it shouldn't have been on me. They should have talked to her a long time ago and set expectations. And I will say they've done some changes since then. But, all it does amplify the issue. And of course, because she, instead of like someone being like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so sorry that affected you, or like, I'm sorry, I'll be more considerate in the future, her thought was, how dare you, you're a bad neighbor for telling on me, and I'm now going to make your life miserable living below me. And she did, and I am not somebody who deals with anxiety well. So I made a plan to move. The apartment complex was going to allow me to transfer with no fees. It took over a month from the incident to move, which was a very anxiety-ridden month for me. There were times I didn't stay at my apartment, and but I finally did move, in January, and now I'm on a first floor unit, which has been really nice for Lola, my dog, because she's 12 years old. The stairs were getting hard on her. It's nice for me in terms of easy access to my apartment, and I haven't had an upstairs neighbor this entire time, but I did see that they just rented out the unit, so I'm getting a neighbor. And all I hope, like you expect when you live in an apartment to hear the sounds of your neighbor. It's communal living, like you expect that. I just hope it's very like natural living noises, not biting, yelling, throwing, slamming things, physical violence. So fingers crossed. But that has brought down a lot of my anxiety that got dealt with. So yeah, in my new unit, mostly unpacked, mostly. The artwork has not all been put up yet, and that was like, it takes me forever to put things on the wall because it's hard for me to do it by myself. But mostly moved in, and I like it. For some reason, like I'm on like an end unit, there's like a pond behind me. It's been nice. I'm glad I moved. I'm glad it worked out the way it did. So that's the first thing. Another update is, let's see, I've been dating. I've really enjoyed dating. I've been thinking about creating a video of like different date night outfits I put together and kind of for what kinds of occasions, because I find it hard myself, and yet I feel like I've created some cute date looks. And the problem with me is I always overdress compared to a guy. And so maybe I could put together something about date outfits if that's interesting to you. I don't even know if that kind of thing is interesting to you. Let me know in the comments. The dating's gone well. I am not in any kind of closed relationship, but I have met people that I've been ongoing dating, and I'm really enjoying the experience of getting to know them. You know, a lot of people date to find themselves in relationships. It's not something I'm against, but I'm also someone who has been single my entire life. There's been people I've dated monogamously, but we never got to calling ourselves full-on partners. So, you know, it's a very natural thing for me to see myself as kind of like a solo, single person who is dating people, who has relationships with people, but isn't in this kind of like monogamous, closed relationship. So that's where I'm at right now. It's working for me right now. I am allowed to change my mind at any time, and I'm enjoying, again, meeting people, and dating for the most part has been fun. Like the dates I've gone on have been good dates, even dates where like I can tell our interest level, like our interests don't align, like we maybe don't have enough in common to make it go beyond like just like I like you-ish. And that's okay. Like the people I've met have been kind. Now, there's been several people who I've been asked on dates by, and then they ghost me day of. I would say that's happened to me 5 times in the last 2 months, and that is frustrating. It is very much so part of the culture of online dating. And, you know, I think in the past I would have been crushed, dissuaded from talking to people because of it. Now I tend to like to meet people relatively soon. I mean, it's fine. There is times I've talked to someone for, you know, a month or 2 before we could meet, and that's fine, but I'm not going to spend like all day talking to you and wait a month to meet you. I would like to meet sooner rather than later, because some people really just kind of want a pen pal, and it's good to figure out who those people are and whether or not we actually mesh, because I don't want to put my energy towards people who just want distractions, or they just want to feel wanted, so they just want like a pen pal. And you know, if you're in a place where you just want online relationship, I think that's fine. I think it's just one of those things you gotta be really honest and transparent about. Like, I'm just looking for online chatting, because there are other people who want the exact same thing, and I happen to want people I can see in person, go on dates with, all that stuff. So it's really important for me to find people who want the same stuff as me. So that's been interesting, and I feel like I've gotten so much better in being really honest and unapologetic and being communicative, you know, like really saying like what I want. That's not something I'm good at. And I'm not, and it's not perfect. I'm not perfect at this. But for example, like if I do have an issue with someone, especially someone I'm like dating multiple times, seeing weekly, etc., I am getting better at saying if something bothered me. I might not be good at saying it right in the moment, but I am good at saying it eventually and saying, hey, you know, there's this thing that happened that I keep thinking about, you know, and talking about it. And it has been easier because the person I'm thinking about with this is really receptive to talking it out and isn't going to like be defensive and stuff. Like, it's not a blame game. It's say this thing happened and it made me feel this way and I want to talk to you about it because maybe we can adjust something so it doesn't happen again, A. Or B, maybe you need to understand how I think, or maybe I need to hear what you were thinking so I can understand it better from my perspective. And I do feel like I'm getting better at that. And I find that my good communication in that one relationship is helping me if I talk to others, be more communicative. I've also gotten better at just kind of knowing when it's time to cut something off or to reciprocate the same energy. You know, there's some guys who say they have a lot of interest, but then they don't act on it. They don't ask me out. They don't. I have to initiate hanging out each time, or I'll say, hey, do you want to go out this week? And they'll say yes, but they never go forward with saying their availability. And I do think, like, at some point, you just have to be like, okay, it's not about me. This is where they're at with their dating, but it's not working for me. And, like, that's fine for me to say. Au revoir. Or, you know, maybe you're just like, cool, well, maybe we can pick up again whenever they're ready. But, like, I'm not going to put a bunch of energy in someone who can't put energy back. And so I feel proud of myself for doing that, and I find that I'm getting a lot of energy out of the relationships I'm forming, friendship and, you know, romantic, and that all feels really good. I've also just been really busy. I think this is the first winter in years that, like, I haven't cocooned. Maybe it's a little bit that it was a warmer winter. Maybe it's just that I have more friends I'm doing things regularly with. Making friends as an adult is not easy. Making friends as an adult that want the same level of engagement with you is not easy. And so, like, I've always had these best friends from middle school, and I value those friendships. We tend to only get together once a month, maybe twice a month. We don't see each other super often. We'll have periods where we're seeing each other a lot. Tends to be in the warmer months, and then we'll have periods where we're off doing other stuff, families, etc. And then through Charlotte Plus, Charlotte Plus is a plus size social group I run in Charlotte, and we have an Instagram if you want to check it out. But anyways, Maria is the one who co-founded it with me, and, you know, over the years we've really developed a best friendship, and so I hang out with Maria a lot. Right now, we both like the same, like, kind of crappy reality TV. And so every Wednesday, we go to a brewery that shows Survivor. And that's been really fun. So every Wednesday, we have plans. The brewery is at this food hall, so we go get dinner. We watch Survivor together. We've been, like, making some chatty friends at the brewery. And we do other things as well. And so it's been really nice to kind of have, like, these friendships I commonly get together with. We're going out, we're doing small, like, weekend trips, etc. We have other friends from like our plus size communities, Allie, Caitlin, that we're making friends with, and, like, I have fun things on the horizon. Like, in April, I'm going to Asheville to do a meetup with Annette from Fat Girls Traveling, and she has some other people coming who went to Fat Camp, which was an old video on my channel. It was pre-pandemic, but some women I've met from there and I've done other experiences with. If you followed me for a while, you know that I was on a couple episodes of the show My Big Fat Fabulous Life that stars Whitney Thor, and she went on a retreat that is like the ones Annette does, and Annette's the one who organized it, and so a couple of the girls who went to the retreat with me for the filming of that show will also be there. So it'll be really nice to just catch up, see how they're doing. And it's good to like have these friendships that I maybe don't see very often, but we do have these moments where we come together, and that is really nice. And then in May, I am doing a plus size 5K in Atlanta. It's called the Plus Strut, if you want to look it up. I believe there's still tickets on sale. Never done a 5K, but if I'm going to do one, I'm going to do one for plus size women because, I think exercising publicly, walking endurance long distance publicly as a fat woman there's a lot of things that can go around it. I love this great support of lots and lots of plus size women. So I'm looking forward to that too. So I got some really fun things coming up that I'm excited about. Let's talk about weight. And so trigger warning, I will be talking about intentional weight loss, my feelings around weight change, medical stuff, how people talk to me about my body, being in the public eye with a changing body, maybe a little bit of like eating things. So if those are all things that do not mesh well with you, I do recommend stopping here, because I think I'm going to end with this topic. And you can always let me know if there's other topics you want me to cover in the comments, because I usually like to do these as makeup, get ready with me videos. It's probably a lot quieter in the background if I do, but here we are in the car just a chat. So let's address the weight loss. I've created this channel, I believe back in like 2018, and I created my blog, if you've ever read that, from like in 2012. So I've been on the internet posting pictures of my body for over a decade. During that time, I've been many sizes, and I've been up and down, and up. And, I think it's always been hard when your weight changes publicly and people have things to say about it. Now, what adds on extra stressors is the idea that you could influence someone about their weight. And I am someone who posts about my life online, but I want it to be very clear that like I make decisions for my life, and it should have no bearing on what decisions you make for your life. I'm here as another fat woman to tell you about my experiences, but your choices should be your choices with careful consideration. And I really hope that's the case. I never want something I do to be so influential that you feel like you have to, or you feel like you should. Always question it. Always question that influence. And I feel it myself, because I know I've followed people who have lost weight or gained weight or whatever they've done, and I feel those push and pulls as well as a consumer of their media. So, years ago I had considered weight loss surgery. And at that time, I had some really negative experiences with the surgeon's office that I was going through, and I decided it wasn't for me. I'm really happy that I made that decision, because at that time, it was not for me. That surgeon's office was not for me, but also mentally, emotionally, it was not for me. From there, I have had a lot of weight gain, and this past year, especially January 2022, I was really struggling with my mobility. Really struggled to, like, where I work, I can't just, like, park right outside my building. I have to park, walk, and I was struggling to do, like, a third of a mile walk to my building, struggling with my breathing, struggling with feeling energy, mobility, getting up, all those things. And I started feeling like I needed to pursue other options. I guess I should just say I did have weight loss surgery, because I realized I'm like going on this long story of how I got there. I had weight loss surgery. I really had to tell myself that I could do this in whatever way I wanted to do it. Like, I don't have to make it my whole story. I don't have to talk about it at all with everyone to whatever extent they want. I do not have to go into conversations where I talk about what I'm eating and restrictive eating. And I know there's going to be some people out there who say you can't do the act of intentional weight loss without having those feelings, and I agree, or those thoughts, I agree. But I do think, depending on your belief systems, there are ways to take on the new reality after weight loss surgery and make peace with both the way your body functions now, the limitations to it, and also what you value about eating, bodies, etc. So that was my goal. And I will also say, in terms of weight loss surgery, I know a lot of people who've had weight loss surgery. Some people gain weight back, some people gain all their weight back plus more. Some people lose their weight, lose a lot of weight, no longer identify as plus size. Like, I know that my story from here, this is one thing I chose to do, it could go in any direction. I am not promised any outcome from this. And that's what scared me the most, is not knowing how this would go. And I think that's one of the most nerve-wracking things, because individually people react in many different ways to the surgery. So that made me nervous. So anyways, I decided this year to pursue weight loss surgery. I used the same surgeon that my sister used, and I found him in his office to be refreshing. There's no off-limit foods beyond in the initial months after your surgery, because simply put, some foods are easier to digest than others. But there's no you can't have bread, carbs, which some doctors out there really try to push all that stuff. They have priorities when you eat, like making sure you get enough protein to meet daily goals, but and water, because a lot of times dehydration is a big part of issues that come out of weight loss surgery. But there wasn't bad foods, good foods, and also they didn't demonize people who lose and gain weight, and they acknowledge that you can gain weight after surgery, and they're just kind of very matter of fact about it, and try to give you tools to meet your own personal goals, which I also appreciate. Besides telling me what average weight loss looks like at the size I started, they never set a goal for me. So I have my own, what I consider comfort spots, but I also knew I wouldn't know the comfort spot till I got to it. So I appreciated their stance. So after looking at the options, I kind of knew already which one I was most comfortable with, which was the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, VSG for short. VSG appealed to me because the surgery only takes place on your actual stomach organ. So some of the other ones alter both the stomach and your intestines. They reroute, they change, they shorten your absorption through your intestines. I have had colon issues in the past, mostly related to food sensitivity and anxiety. So one of the things that was most important for me was to have my full digestive tract in case I ever have an issue that necessitates any of it being removed. I also knew that VSG tends to have less reactions to foods than something like gastric bypass. Gastric bypass, people get things like dumping syndrome. That's really not a thing with VSG. VSG can actually, I think the VSG mostly affects people who have GERD, heartburn. So it's more like your upper intestinal tract that could really trigger. So that's something to consider if you ever were to consider this. So I decided to do VSG. I had to do all the things that the office requires and that my insurance requires to do it, and met with nutritionists and so on. And so I had surgery August 18th of last year, 2022. Okay, so I'm thinking again about what I want to share. I don't want to give a full rundown of the surgery and stuff. You can look up that information on your own. Like, there's so much stuff out there about these kind of surgeries and what goes part of the process. So let's just kind of talk about the things that I do want to share. Obviously my weight has changed. I'm not going to share numbers. I do share what sizes I am in videos, so you'll be able to my car is saying goodbye. You will be able to see like what size I am at any current time. But I find that numbers become comparisons. Numbers become, well, this person lost this weight, but you only lost that weight. I just don't know who the numbers serve. So I don't feel like it's really important to share. I will say that I was very lucky in that I have had very little complications from the surgery. Everything healed up appropriately. Everything was as they told me to expect. I was back physically at work within a week. Probably pushed it, but it was a new semester, so I did it. And really, like, the main things at the beginning were dealing with dehydration and low energy. Since then, I have developed some side effects. And these, again, are all kinds of ones they've warned you about. I'm cold a lot now. I don't know if your body just recovers from losing that amount of mass so quickly. But I went from a hot-natured person to now a cold-natured person. I have sinus issues. A lot of times when people get full after weight loss surgery, one of their first indications of fullness is their nose running, sneezing, so on. Like, I think just like because you have less space, it hits your nerves and your sinuses and things go. And that has been annoying. Like, sometimes I'll just bend over and suddenly my nose is dripping. Random. You get used to it, but it can be awkward. Like, what if you're like kissing somebody and suddenly your nose just decides to flow? You know, would be cool if that wasn't the case. But also, like, this is something I need to talk to my surgeon about, because I Googled it and other people have talked about having had the same issue. I've never, ever had tonsil issues, but suddenly I've had tonsil issues multiple times, and I'm not sure if it's because of the sinus drainage or what, but my throat keeps getting irritated, and I don't know if that means I'm going to have tonsillectomy. I'm going to have to talk to him about what that means, because it certainly is not comfortable. And your tonsils are important for, you know, your immunity to do what it needs to do. So I wish it would just not be affected. Hair loss. I am experiencing a lot of hair loss. My hair was never thin or never thick to begin with, but my hair is very thin now. And if I pull it up, you can probably see it's pretty thin. You're gonna be able to see my scalp. I actually, where my part is, I use a product that I found through a YouTuber, which is basically just like powder. Like, you stamp a powder there, which makes your part at least appear fuller, so you don't have a scalp showing. So that's what I use at my part. And then on the crown of my head, which is actually where I have a lot of my hair loss, I use topic fibers, which, like, you shake it like you're shaking pepper on your hair, and it kind of sticks and fills in your hair. And that's been okay for me at the moment. Like, I don't love, sometimes I'll be like taking pictures or whatever, and like you'll be able to see full on right behind me, and it's a vanity thing. It's absolutely a vanity thing. I should be lucky I have as much hair on my head as I do. But it is hard to deal with, because it's just not something I really want to happen. It is supposed to be temporary. They say around like a year out or so, you're going to get a lot of like regrowth. We'll see. I have no idea if it'll be permanent hair loss. But that is another side effect I'm having from the surgery. And it's a very, very, very common one that you hear about. I am seeing benefits of being in a smaller body. And this is where I feel like it can get really upsetting to people. But I will say some of the reasons that I initially like wanted to do the surgery are some of my benefits. Increased mobility, increased endurance, more energy. All of those things have been benefits of where I'm at right now. You know, the hardest thing to navigate has been how other people talk to me about my body. In some ways, again, because I'm on Instagram, YouTube, people have demanded it of me. People have seen I lost weight, therefore immediately go into praising thinness, praising weight loss. And I think we just have to remember, like, this stuff is triggering and hard for a lot of people, but also it can be triggering and hard for me. I don't want the size of my body now to have me recognized differently than who I was in the past and what I looked like in the past. And that has been hard to reconcile with some of the comments I get. And also, it's made it so people don't feel safe on my pages. I've had people tell me, I actively avoid your posts because so many people post things celebrating thinness on your page. And that is hard. And sometimes I delete comments, and sometimes I block people because of it. And I think we just have to know, like, celebrating thinness, celebrating diets is just not welcome everywhere. And when you see someone lose weight, we often don't know why, but we also don't know how they feel about it. And we don't know what affects them. And I just want to remind you all, like, I could gain weight again. And my body is always going to be a bit in flux. And I need it to not matter to you. I need it to not matter to you. And I need it to be something that I can share, whatever, whatever I look like at that moment. I need that to be okay. And I don't need congratulations. I don't need shame. I just need people to accept me as I show up every day. And I think that's how we have to watch what we say about people's bodies. So there's been people who've messaged me privately, and I've told them that I've had the surgery. Sometimes they then want to talk about dieting. It's been really hard. It's not really conversations I want to have. Some people have had questions because they themselves are going through it. I'm willing to offer informational things. Sometimes people come in and they immediately say things that make me feel weird, or kind of invite me to celebrate thinness. I don't want to, and I have to sometimes tell them, hey, that doesn't make me feel good. I love fat women. I am a fat woman. This is not something I adopt as my view. And then I've had the people who are like, you're hiding, you're being weird, you're doing XYZ. And I just want to kind of say to them that I am a person with a body, and I can talk about it however I want to. And I've never been someone that's like updating y'all on my weight or any of that, right? Like, I tell you my size, I tell you my experiences, but I've never been one to engage in diet talk, and I never will be someone who wants to engage in diet talk. So it is what it is, and I think we really had to think about what culture we're creating around bodies, and I ask for people to be really mindful of that. Sometimes what we've been trained in our responses, isn't the right response, and we have to kind of think about how we're engaging with people about those things. That's been hard for me. And what I've also found is that, because I've lost weight, people really feel able to talk to me about all kinds of shit. Like, I went into a doctor's office and I have to disclose what surgeries I've had, so I disclosed that I had the VSG surgery. Oh, I have people come in all the time who have had that surgery and they're just drinking sodas and da-da-da-da. I don't need you to shame. I don't need to know about what shame you bring or think of the people who've had these surgeries and the choices they're making. That actually does not make me feel comfortable in your care, but is also just such a symptom of thinking like, okay, this person's doing intentional weight loss, and so they must agree with me, or they must feel these things about me, and like the same as me. And I think it's just, again, something we have to really be mindful of for ourselves, and again, what we're contributing to the discussion. So yeah, so is there anything else I want to talk about? I don't know if there's much more to say besides, yes, I did have weight loss surgery. I feel lucky that it's been a positive experience for me, but I'm very mindful about how I want to talk about it and how I don't want to talk about it and how I don't really want to talk about diet or weight loss, and that there are channels out there who do talk about it, and there's content out there for people who want it. I just happen to not be focused on it. I'm still plus size. I care very much about plus size people, access to clothing, access to furniture, access to rights and non-discrimination and all of those things. And that will forever matter to me. So yes, if you've been wondering, that's what it is, and that's kind of why I've not talked about it, and how I think about the ways others talk to me about it. And that's probably been the most stressful part of this journey, because it's very easy to get social value from fitting into weight loss, and even getting like, even, coworkers or your parents saying they're proud of you and stuff. It's really easy to want to lean into that and please them. And ultimately, it's my body that's going to fluctuate forever. And I have to be accepted and be okay in whatever body I have at any given moment. And I hope to continue to exist in communities where however I show up is accepted. And I hope to be that community for other people as well. So those are my thoughts. Those are my updates on life. And I hope you understand me and where I'm coming from. But if not, I do think, again, like, there are other people who view this differently. And you can find a million other people having conversations about this that might better fit what you're looking for. And that's okay. But I hope you enjoy this little catch up. And I will talk to you soon. Hopefully the audio wasn't too terrible. I know it was kind of bad. I'm sorry. But this is when I was chatty. And now I need to go rest my throat. All right. Goodbye.